I stood in that hospital room with a pen in my hand and a choice that would define the rest of my life. My wife was in the bed, exhausted from labor, holding a baby boy she swore was mine. My mother stood beside her, smiling through tears. Jessica's mother hovered near the bassinet, already planning the christening. Everyone was waiting for me to sign the birth certificate. Everyone except me knew what I was about to do. "Ryan, baby, just sign it," Jessica said, her voice soft but insistent. "You're his father. Sign the birth certificate." I stared at the paper. Baby Ethan Mitchell, born February 18th, 2025. Father, Ryan James. Mitchell. It looked official. It looked real. It looked like a lie. My fingers found the dog tags under my uniform, the cold metal familiar against my chest. My father's tags. My grandfather's legacy. 3 generations of Mitchell men who'd worn the uniform and stood for something. I heard my father's voice in my head, clear as the day he'd given me these tags. A soldier never abandons his post, but he never defends the indefensible. "Jessica." My voice came out quieter than I intended. "I got back from Afghanistan yesterday. This baby is 2 days old." The room went still. "I left for deployment 9 months and 2 weeks ago." I looked up from the paper, met her eyes. "I know you know what that means." Jessica's face went pale. My mother's smile faltered. Jessica's mother made a small sound, something between a gasp and a denial. "Ryan, you're confused," Jessica started, but I cut her off. "I'm a medic, Jess. I know how pregnancy works. 40 weeks. I've been gone 42. I set the pen down, didn't let go of it yet. "It's impossible. How dare you?" Jessica's mother exploded. "She just gave birth. How dare you accuse her of—" "Mom." I turned to my own mother, saw the confusion in her eyes. "I deployed September 10th. I landed in Germany yesterday, February 20th. I was in Afghanistan the entire time. There was no leave, no emergency return. I couldn't have been here for conception. The math doesn't work." My mother opened her mouth, closed it. She was trying to find an explanation that didn't exist. The door opened. Marcus Webb, my battle buddy, the man who'd lost his left leg to an IED in Iraq and never lost his loyalty, stepped inside. He took one look at the room and understood everything. "Brother," he said quietly, "what do you need?" I looked back at Jessica. "I need the truth. Who's the father?" She broke then, not with confession but with deflection, the way people do when they know they're caught. "You were gone. You left me alone for months." "That's not an answer." "You abandoned me. I had no one." "That's still not an answer." I released the pen, let it roll across the clipboard. "I'm ordering a paternity test. Hospital policy allows it when paternity is disputed." "You're going to humiliate me?" Jessica's voice rose to a scream. "Your son? You're going to humiliate your own son?" "If he's my son, I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to him." I stood, felt Marcus move closer to my side. "If he's not, we're done. And you're going to answer for this." The room erupted, Jessica sobbing, her mother shouting, my mother trying to calm everyone down, nurses appearing at the doorway. I walked through it all like I was moving through smoke after an IED blast, numb, focused, knowing the real damage wouldn't hit until later. Marcus followed me to the parking lot. February in Tennessee is cold in a way that gets into your bones. I made it to his truck before the shaking started, not crying, just shaking. Rage and shock, and something I didn't have a name for yet. "Talk to me," Marcus said. "What are you thinking?" "I was in a firefight 3 days ago." My voice sounded far away. "I held a 19-year-old kid's intestines inside his body while we waited for the medevac. Told him he was going to make it, told him to think about his girl back home. He died anyway. And I come home to this." "When did you know?" "The second I walked into that room." I looked back at the hospital. The baby doesn't look like me, not even close. Different complexion, different features. And the dates, Marcus. I knew. He leaned against the truck. "What did your dad say about situations like this?" "He always said, a soldier never abandons his post." I touched the dog tags again. "But what's my post, Marcus? A lie?" "Your post is the truth, brother. It always has been." I watched a young couple walk into the hospital, the woman's belly huge with pregnancy. The man's hand protective on her back. They looked happy. They looked honest. They looked like what I'd thought I had. The test takes 3 days, I said. 72 hours until I know if my entire life is a lie. Where are you staying? Not with her. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. You're staying with me and Sophie. No arguments. Marcus pulled out his keys. Let's go. I looked back at the hospital one more time. What if I'm wrong? What if somehow... You're not wrong, Marcus said. You know you're not. He was right. I knew, but knowing and proving it are two different kinds of pain. I had 72 hours to wait for DNA results. 72 hours to wonder if I'd destroyed my marriage over a mistake, or if I was the mistake all along. Marcus's house was small but clean, the kind of place that feels lived in rather than decorated. Sophie met us at the door, all 8 years old and gap-toothed smile. Uncle Ryan, she launched herself at me. Dad said you're staying with us. I caught her, held on maybe a little too tight. Kids are honest in a way adults forget how to be. Sophie didn't know about hospital rooms or DNA tests or wives who lie. She just knew I was here, and that was good enough. Where's Aunt Jessica and the baby? She asked. The question hit like shrapnel. I didn't know how to answer. Marcus intervened, smooth as always. They're at the hospital still, sweetheart. Uncle Ryan's going to stay here for a bit. Cool. You can have the guest room. It has a window that faces the backyard, and sometimes you can see deer. She grabbed my hand and pulled me inside. The walls were covered in her drawings. Houses, families, flowers, things kids draw when they feel safe. The refrigerator was a gallery of crayon and construction paper. Everything about this place said home, in a way my house with Jessica never quite had. I unpacked my duffel in the guest room. Everything I owned from 9 months in Afghanistan fit in one bag. I'd shipped most of my gear separately, but the essentials were here. Uniforms, a few civilian clothes, toiletries, and a bundle of letters my father had sent to me during deployment. I'd read most of them in rare quiet moments between patrols and medical emergencies. But there was one I'd saved, marked in my father's handwriting. Open when you need guidance. Dad. He'd died 3 years ago. Agent Orange finally caught up with him, turned his lungs into something that couldn't sustain life. I'd been stateside then, got to say goodbye, got to hold his hand while he went, but these letters were his way of staying with me during my 3rd deployment, his way of being the father he'd always been, even from beyond the grave. I stared at the sealed envelope. Once I opened it, that was it. No more new words from him. No more advice I hadn't heard yet. I'd be completely on my own. I set it on the nightstand, unopened. My phone started buzzing, text after text, call after call. Jessica's messages alternated between begging and threatening. Her family called me cruel, heartless, asked how I could abandon a newborn. Some of my army buddies texted, confused, asking what happened. The family readiness group, the spouses network that was supposed to support military families, was apparently on fire with gossip. I could feel the judgment through the screen. My mother called. I almost didn't answer. Ryan? Her voice was thick with tears. Sweetie, I love you, but are you sure? This is so extreme. Mom, I was overseas. It's not possible. But families work through things. Maybe she made a mistake, but that baby deserves to know who his real father is, I said. And I deserve to know if my wife is a liar. Your father wouldn't have wanted this division in the family. Something hot flared in my chest. Dad taught me to stand for the truth. That's exactly what I'm doing. Ryan, I have to go, Mom. I hung up, sat on the edge of the bed in a stranger's guest room, and felt more alone than I'd ever felt in a combat zone. At least in Afghanistan, I knew who the enemy was. The next day, Marcus came home with information. He'd made some calls, talked to people at the hospital. Apparently, staff gossip travels fast. Jessica's been seen with Trevor Blake, Marcus said. Radiologist, also married, 2 kids, 1 on the way. I processed this. Not a one-time mistake, an affair, ongoing, while I was getting shot at 7,000 miles away. You want to confront him? Marcus asked. Not yet. DNA first, then everyone answers. Sunday came. In my family, Sundays meant BBQ. My father had made it sacred. Didn't matter if it was raining, snowing, or the middle of a heat wave. Every Sunday he was at the grill, even when the cancer was eating him alive, even when he could barely stand, He'd insisted on manning that grill. Sunday BBQ isn't about the food, son, he'd told me once when I was maybe 10 years old, learning to flip burgers without losing them through the grate. It's about showing up, every week no matter what. That's what family does. What if someone can't show up? I'd asked. Then you save their plate, but if they choose not to show up? He'd looked at me seriously. That's different. That's a choice. I sat in Marcus's backyard Sunday morning. No grill, no family, no tradition. Just me and a cup of coffee going cold in my hands. Marcus came out, handed me a fresh cup. You okay? Sundays were sacred in our house. Dad never missed one, not once, even when he was dying. Tell me about him. So I did. Told Marcus about Colonel James Mitchell, about Vietnam and Agent Orange, about a man who'd served his country and paid for it with his lungs and his life, about the letters he'd left me, the wisdom he'd tried to pass down, the way he'd made being a Mitchell mean something. He left me letters, I said, pulling the sealed envelope from my pocket. I haven't opened this one yet. Why not? Because once I read it, that's it. No more advice from him. I'm out. Marcus studied me. Or maybe he knew you'd need it exactly now. That night, after Sophie went to bed, after Marcus finished cleaning the kitchen, I sat on the back porch with my father's letter. The envelope was worn from being carried through Afghanistan in my pack. I'd touched it so many times, wondering what was inside, never quite ready to know. I opened it. Ryan, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're facing something that challenges everything you believe about family. I don't know what it is, but I know you're my son. You'll face it head on. Here's what I learned in Vietnam and in 30 years after. Honor isn't about defending everything with your name on it. Honor is defending the truth, even when it costs you everything. Your grandfather gave me these dog tags when I shipped out. He said, a soldier never abandons his post, but he never defends the indefensible. I didn't understand until my lie, until I saw good men defend terrible things because they wore the same uniform. Son, family is sacred. But a lie wearing the name family is blasphemy. If someone you love has betrayed you, remember, loyalty is earned, not owed. Blood can lie, but character doesn't. You'll know what to do. You always do. Love, Dad P.S. The BBQ sauce recipe is in Mom's kitchen. Low and slow, you can't rush good things. Same with building a life worth living. I sat there in the dark, my father's words in my hands, his dog tags against my chest. 3 generations. My grandfather in World War II, my father in Vietnam, me in Afghanistan. We'd all worn the uniform. We'd all stood for something, and now I knew what I was standing for. Marcus came out, didn't say anything, just sat beside me. Tomorrow's the day, he said finally. Tomorrow, everything changes. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was afraid of what the DNA test would say. I knew what it would say. I was afraid of what came after, because the truth doesn't set you free. It just shows you who was lying the whole time. The genetic counselor was uncomfortable. You could see it in the way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes, the way her hands fidgeted with the envelope. Mr. Mitchell, the results are definitive. She slid the paper across her desk. I didn't need to be a geneticist to understand it. Probability of paternity, 0.0%, in bold, in black and white, in a truth that couldn't be argued away. I need 3 copies, I said. My voice sounded calm. Strange how calm you can sound when your world is ending. 1 for me, 1 for my lawyer, 1 for court. Mr. Mitchell, I'm so sorry. Would you like to speak with someone? We have counselors? No, I'd like the birth certificate amendment paperwork. She provided it. Marcus stood beside me the entire time, solid and silent, the way good soldiers are when words won't help. Walking out, I saw Jessica in the hallway. She had baby Ethan in her arms, and for just a second, one painful, honest second, I felt grief. Not for the marriage, for the child I'd thought was mine for 2 days, for the son who'd never existed except in my imagination. Ryan, please! Jessica's voice was desperate. Can we talk? I stopped, looked at the baby. He was innocent in all this. Whatever else was true, he didn't ask to be born into a lie. I'm not his father, Jess. You need to tell Trevor Blake. That's his son. She went pale. How did you? Everyone knows. The hospital's not that big. I walked away. Behind me, Jessica was sobbing. I didn't look back. Patricia Vance's law office was in a converted house near the base. She was former JAG, the kind of attorney who'd seen every flavor of military family drama, and still managed to believe in justice. "I've seen cases like yours," she said, spreading the DNA results across her desk. "Not many, but enough. Paternity fraud during deployment. It's more common than people think. What are my options?" She laid out the legal landscape with the precision of someone who'd done this before. Annulment versus divorce, child support obligations, or lack thereof, given the DNA, Jessica's potential liability for fraud, military benefits she'd received under false pretenses. "This will get ugly," Patricia warned. "She'll fight. They always do." "I don't want revenge. I want the truth on record." "Good, because revenge makes you look petty. Truth makes you untouchable." She paused. "What about the child? Do you have any attachment?" I'd been asking myself that question for 3 days. I thought I did. For 2 days, I thought he was mine. I thought about teaching him to throw a baseball, about helping him with homework, about being the father my dad was for me. I looked at my hands. But I can't live a lie. That's not fair to him either. He deserves a father who's really his father. Patricia nodded. "We'll need to confront Trevor Blake. Get him to take a paternity test. Once we have that confirmation, we can move forward." "Do it." The confrontation with Trevor happened in Patricia's conference room. He brought a lawyer. Guilty people always do. He was younger than I expected, polished in a way that made me think he'd never missed a meal or worried about stepping on an IED. "I don't know what Jessica told you," he started. I slid the DNA results across the table. 0% match, which means someone else is the father. Hospital records show you and Jessica working the same shifts during the conception window. Trevor's lawyer opened his mouth. Patricia cut him off. "We have cell phone records showing 247 text messages between your client and Mrs. Mitchell during her pregnancy. We have witnesses, we have time stamps." I leaned forward. "You're married, your wife is pregnant right now." Trevor wouldn't meet my eyes. "Does Amy know?" Silence. Patricia's voice was ice. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take a paternity test. When it confirms you're the father, you're going to accept financial and legal responsibility. Or? Trevor's lawyer asked. "Or my client files charges for fraud and alienation of affection, and I make sure every hospital in the tri-state area knows what you did. Your career is over." Trevor crumbled. "I'll take the test." His test came back 99.9% match. Ethan was his son. Trevor's wife found out. She left him, took their daughter. His reputation at the hospital collapsed. Jessica's affair became public scandal. My phone started blowing up again, but this time the messages were different. Army buddies apologizing for doubting me. FRG members shifting sides. Even Jessica's family went quiet, their righteous anger deflating in the face of DNA evidence. My mother called. "Ryan, I owe you an apology." "Mom, no, let me say this. I should have believed you. I should have trusted you. You're your father's son." Her voice broke. "I forgot that for a moment. I'm sorry. I just wanted the truth. You got it, and it cost you everything." "Not everything." I looked around Marcus's living room, saw Sophie's drawings on the wall, saw the evidence of a life being lived honestly. I still have the truth. That evening, Sophie found me sitting in the backyard. "Uncle Ryan, why are you sad?" "I lost something important, Sophie." "What did you lose?" "I thought I had a family, but it wasn't real." She considered this with the seriousness only kids can manage. "You have me and Dad. We're real." Something in my chest cracked open. Yeah, you are." She handed me a piece of paper, one of her drawings. 3 figures holding hands. Me, Marcus, Sophie. The title in kid handwriting, Our Family. I put it on the refrigerator with a magnet. The DNA test proved I wasn't Ethan's father, but it didn't answer the question that kept me up at night. If I wasn't going to be his father, who was I going to be? It was Marcus who suggested the smokehouse. "You know what today is?" he asked on the 4th Sunday after the DNA results. "Sunday. BBQ day. Help me prep the restaurant." Webb's Smokehouse was Marcus's dream after the Army. a small BBQ joint near base where veterans gathered and civilians came for the best pulled pork in 3 counties. The place smelled like hickory smoke and possibility. Marcus, I don't know, your dad's tradition. Doesn't die just because he did. Come on. So I found myself learning the rhythm of the smoker. Brisket takes 12 hours, low and slow, can't rush it. Ribs need attention, but not interference. Pulled pork is about patience. Marcus taught me everything. His hands steady despite the prosthetic leg. His voice calm despite his own losses. Sophie helped, which mostly meant tasting sauce and making observations like, "This one's too spicy," and "Dad, you forgot the sugar." "Low and slow," Marcus said, checking the brisket. 12 hours for this. Can't rush it. My dad used to say that. Marcus looked at me. I know. He told me once at a unit BBQ. Marcus, good things take time. Marriages, families, trust. You rush it, you ruin it. The words hit harder than they should have. He told you that? Week before he died. I think he knew you'd need to hear it again. After the lunch rush, we sat down together. Me, Marcus, Sophie. Real family dinner, the kind my father had insisted on every Sunday. Uncle Ryan, are you going to live with us forever? Sophie asked around a mouthful of coleslaw. I don't know, kiddo. Maybe until I figure things out. I hope you stay. It's better when you're here. Marcus tried to redirect. Sophie, Uncle Ryan has his own life. But his wife was mean. You said so. Awkward silence. Kids have a way of saying the quiet part loud. She wasn't always mean, I said carefully. But she made choices I can't forgive. Like when my mom left? Marcus tensed. This was painful territory. Sophie was matter-of-fact about it. My mom left because Dad got hurt. She said she didn't sign up for a broken soldier. I looked at Marcus. This was the first I'd heard the details. His wife had walked away after the IED blast, after the amputation, after he'd needed her most. But Dad's not broken, Sophie continued. He's the best dad. He really is, I agreed. So you don't need that mean wife? You can just stay with us. Kid logic, but it made perfect sense. I'd like that, Sophie, if your dad doesn't mind. Brother, you're family. Stay as long as you want. Marcus also suggested the VA counseling. Readjustment counseling. It's not just PTSD, it's for family stuff too. I was reluctant, but I went. That's how I met Sarah Chen. Her office was small, warm, but professional. She was younger than I expected, with kind eyes and the patient demeanor of someone who'd heard every story and still believed people could heal. What brings you in? She asked. I just got back from Afghanistan, and my life kind of exploded. Deployment stress? My wife had an affair, got pregnant, tried to pass the baby as mine. To her credit, Sarah didn't flinch. How did you find out? I can do math. I was overseas when the baby was conceived. Over the next 3 weeks, I saw Sarah 3 times. Each session peeled back another layer. In the first session, she asked about the baby. How do you feel about the child? Sad, I admitted. I lost a son I never had. That's weird grief, right? It's not weird, it's real. You're allowed to mourn the family you thought you had. In the second session, we talked about my father, about military legacy, about the pressure to be a man. My dad always said honor matters more than comfort. So, why do I feel like a failure? Because you equate your marriage ending with personal failure, but you didn't fail. You refused to accept a lie. What if staying would have been stronger, just living with it? That's not strength. That's self-erasure. There's no honor in that. In the third session, I realized I was smiling when I talked about Marcus and Sophie. They're easy, I said. No lies, no games. That's what family should feel like. But they're not my family, not really. Sarah leaned forward. What makes someone family? Blood or choice? I sat with that question for a long time. Life developed a rhythm. I started driving Sophie to school in the mornings while Marcus handled early restaurant prep. Uncle Ryan, can you come to my school play? She asked one morning. When is it? Friday, I'm a tree. I kept my face serious. That's an important role. I'll be there. She beamed. I helped her with homework in the evenings. Fractions were a struggle until I explained them with pizza. If I have one pizza and Marcus eats half, that's not fair. I want pizza too. First real laugh I'd had in weeks. When Marcus's prosthetic broke, causing him pain and limiting his mobility, my combat medic training kicked in. I adjusted the fit, wrapped his residual limb properly, made sure everything was aligned. "Thanks, brother," he said. "That's what family does." One night, Sophie had a nightmare. Marcus was exhausted from a double shift, so I went to her room. She was crying, small and scared in a way that made my chest tight. I dreamed my mom came back and took me away from Dad. I sat on the edge of her bed. "That won't happen. Your dad would never let anyone take you. What if she changed her mind? Then your dad and I would fight for you, together. You're not going anywhere." She fell asleep holding my hand. By the fourth Sunday, I was helping Marcus run the entire smokehouse. My mother brought by my father's old apron, the one he'd worn for 30 years of Sunday BBQs. It still smelled like hickory smoke and memories. Regular customers asked, "Who's the new guy?" Marcus grinned. "That's my brother Ryan, best brisket slicer in Tennessee." I felt something I hadn't felt since before deployment. I felt home. Sarah suggested I join a veterans family support group. I wasn't sure I qualified. I wasn't really a family anymore, but I went. Sitting in a circle with other veterans, hearing their stories, I realized I wasn't alone. One guy had lost his kids in a divorce. Another was fighting to keep his marriage alive after 3 deployments. A third was rebuilding after his wife's suicide. When it was my turn, I told my story. The deployment, the timeline, the DNA test, the truth. The group was supportive, no judgment, just understanding. After the meeting, Sarah walked with me to the coffee shop next door. We talked about things that weren't counseling, music, books, the weather. "I'm a child of refugees," she said. "My mom fled Vietnam, met my dad when he was stationed in California post-war. Military family? In a way. My dad had PTSD, my mom had trauma from the war. They built something new together. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs." I looked at her, really looked at her. "Do you think people can really start over?" She met my eyes. "I think some people are built to rebuild. You're one of them." Something passed between us. Not romance, not yet, but potential. The possibility of something honest and good. Sophie's school play was on Friday. She was treated to 3 in The Forest Awakens. Marcus and I sat in the audience, and I'd invited Sarah. She came. Sophie stood perfectly still, with construction paper branches attached to her arms, taking her role as seriously as any soldier on duty. Afterward, she ran to us. "Did you see me? I didn't move at all. You were the best tree I've ever seen," I said. "Are you really staying, Uncle Ryan?" I looked at Marcus, at Sarah, back at Sophie. Then I knelt down to her level. "Sophie, I promise you this. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me." She hugged me hard enough to hurt. "If you'll have me," I said to Marcus, "I want to make this permanent. Rent a place nearby, help with Sophie, work at the restaurant, be here." "You're my brother," Marcus said. "You always have a place here." Sarah was watching us smiling. The following Sunday, my mother visited. She brought a box, my father's BBQ recipes, his aprons, his tools. "Your father would be proud of you," she said. "I'm sorry I doubted you. You were trying to protect family." I was protecting the wrong person. Jessica lied to all of us. She met Sophie properly. "So you're the little girl Ryan talks about. Are you Uncle Ryan's mom?" "I am." "Then you're kind of my grandma." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "I'd like that very much." She stayed for Sunday BBQ at Webb's Smokehouse. 4 generations of tradition, not by blood, but by choice. My grandfather, my father, me, and now Sophie. For the first time since coming home, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. I had Marcus, Sophie, Sarah, even my mom was back. I thought maybe the worst was over. I should have known better, because Jessica wasn't done. The papers were served at the smokehouse, right in the middle of lunch rush. Jessica was suing for fraud, emotional distress, abandonment, and child support. She was claiming I'd promised to be Ethan's father, regardless of DNA, that I'd acted as his father, that I owed support. Patricia reviewed the filing with barely concealed anger. "This is a Hail Mary, but it's dangerous. Some states have presumed father laws. If you acted as a father, even briefly, I was in a hospital room for 2 hours. I didn't even hold him." "Good, that helps. But we need to be ready. She's going to paint you as cruel, as someone who abandoned a baby. What do I do? Tell the truth. Show the timeline. Show the affair. Show that you're building a real life." She paused. "She's also filed for an emergency restraining order, claiming you threatened her. I never. Doesn't matter. It's a tactic. We fight it." Trevor's paternity test confirmed what we already knew. 99.9% match. He was Ethan's biological father. Patricia presented his lawyer with an ultimatum: accept responsibility voluntarily or face public exposure of everything. Trevor signed, but the damage was spreading. Jessica's family launched a social media campaign, posts with photos of Jessica looking vulnerable, holding baby Ethan, with captions like, "Veteran abandons newborn over DNA test." Local Facebook groups erupted into debate. Some comments supported her. "He should have been a man and raised the baby anyway." Others supported me. "She lied to him while he was at war. She's the villain." Marcus intercepted my phone. "Don't read the comments. Don't engage. Let Patricia handle it." Sarah came by that evening. "People who matter know the truth. The rest is noise." Sophie asked, "Why are people being mean to Uncle Ryan?" Marcus pulled her close. "Because they don't understand, but we do." The preliminary hearing was packed. Veterans filled the gallery. Marcus had put out the word, and they'd come. Brothers and sisters in arms, showing up like good soldiers do. Jessica's lawyer painted her as a victim, a lonely military spouse, a woman who made a mistake, a mother trying to do right by her child. Jessica took the stand, crying. "I made a mistake. I was lonely, but that baby is innocent. Ryan promised he'd love me no matter what. I thought he was a better man than this." Patricia's cross-examination was surgical. "Ms. Mitchell, when exactly did you tell your husband about the affair?" I was going to." "You didn't. He discovered it himself, correct?" "Yes." "And when he asked you to consent to a paternity test, you refused initially?" "I was scared." "Scared of what? The truth? That he'd leave me. So you were prepared to let him raise another man's child under false pretenses?" Jessica didn't answer. Patricia introduced evidence. Deployment records showing I was overseas during conception. DNA results showing percent paternity. Hospital records documenting Jessica's affair with Trevor Blake. "There is no case here, Your Honor. This is retaliation." Then it was my turn to testify. I wore my dress uniform. Patricia had suggested it. Visual impact matters in court. I sat in the witness box and told the truth. "Mr. Mitchell, why did you request a paternity test?" "Because I deployed to Afghanistan on September 10th and didn't return until February 20th. The baby was born February 18th. It's biologically impossible for me to be the father." "Did you want to find out you weren't the father?" "No, I wanted to be wrong. I wanted that baby to be mine, but I knew he wasn't." "How did you know?" "I'm a combat medic. I understand gestation timelines, and when I saw him, he didn't look like me. At all. I'm not an idiot." "What did you do when you got the DNA results?" "I cried, because I lost a family I thought I had, but then I realized I never had it. It was a lie." "Do you have any ill will toward baby Ethan?" "No, he's innocent. He deserves a father who's actually his father, Trevor Blake, not me." "Have you moved on with your life?" "Yes, I'm living with my friend Marcus Webb and his daughter Sophie. I help run his restaurant. I'm building a real family, one that's not based on lies." Jessica's lawyer tried to trap me. "Mr. Mitchell, don't you think family is more than just DNA?" "Yes, I do. That's why I'm with Marcus and Sophie, because they chose me, and I chose them. My wife didn't choose me. She chose someone else." Patricia submitted Sophie's drawing as evidence, the one labeled Our Family, with the three of us holding hands. The judge looked at it for a long time. Jessica's lawyer objected. "This is manipulative?" "Overruled," the judge said. "It's evidence of Mr. Mitchell's current stable environment." The gallery murmured. The drawing was more powerful than any legal argument. The judge's ruling was swift. "I've reviewed all evidence. Ms. Mitchell, I find your claims without merit." Jessica started to cry. The judge's voice was stern. "You engaged in an extramarital affair during your husband's deployment. You became pregnant by another man. You attempted to deceive your husband into believing the child was his. When he demanded the truth, you vilified him. This court will not reward such behavior." The ruling? No child support obligation for me. DNA excluded me. No damages for Jessica. Her claim dismissed. Annulment granted. The marriage was void due to fraud. Trevor Blake named legal father, child support transferred to him. Restraining order denied. The judge looked directly at me. Mr. Mitchell, you served your country honorably. You demanded the truth honorably. This court finds you acted appropriately. You're free to go. The gallery erupted. Veterans clapping, Jessica's family stunned into silence. I exhaled. It was over. Outside the courthouse, news cameras waited. Small town, big drama. Mr. Mitchell, how do you feel about the ruling? I looked at Marcus, at Sophie holding my hand, at Sarah standing beside us. Relieved, the truth matters. That's all I wanted. What's next for you? I'm going home, to my real family. Sophie squeezed my hand. Marcus put his arm around my shoulders. We walked away together. The judge's ruling didn't erase what happened. Jessica still lied. Trevor still betrayed his family. Ethan still existed, innocent in all of this. But for the first time since I walked into that hospital room, I could breathe. The truth was on record. And I was free. 6 months later, life looked different. I had a small apartment near Marcus's house, close enough to help with Sophie, far enough to have my own space. Every morning, Sophie knocked on my door. Uncle Ryan, Dad says you're late for prep. Webb's Smokehouse was thriving. The sign out front now read, Webb's Smokehouse, Mitchell Family Recipes. We'd expanded the menu, hired 2 more people, and built a reputation that extended beyond the military community. Regular customers greeted me by name. One asked, Ryan, when are you and Sarah making it official? Marcus grinned. Translation, he's terrified of screwing it up. Accurate, I admitted. Sarah had become part of our routine. She helped Sophie with homework, joined us for dinners, fit into our family like she'd always been there. One evening, Sophie was working on a school project about family trees. Ms. Sarah, can I put you on my tree? Sophie, I'm not technically. You're here all the time. Your family. Sarah looked at me. I nodded. Then yes, put me on your tree. Later on the porch, Sarah said, sorry if Sophie's a lot. She gets attached. I like her. I like this. I like you. I'm still figuring things out. The divorce just finalized last month. I know. I'm not going anywhere. Take your time. What if I'm broken? Sarah touched my hand. You're not broken. You're rebuilt. That's different. One afternoon, Sarah called. Her friend Maya, another VA counselor, was in labor. Would you come with me? I don't want to go alone. I hesitated. Hospital. Baby. Last time I'd been in a delivery ward, my life had exploded. I understand, Sarah said, but maybe it's closure. So I went. Same hospital, different context. Maya was in labor, her husband Carlos by her side, everything honest and joyful and right. Sarah and I waited outside the delivery room. Memories flooded back. Jessica, the birth certificate, the moment I knew. You okay? Sarah asked. Yeah, it's weird being back. When baby Isabella was born, healthy and crying, Maya invited us in. Meet Isabella, she said, glowing with exhaustion and happiness. Carlos asked, You have kids, man? No, but I have Sophie. She's 8. Not mine biologically, but mine. That counts? That totally counts. I watched Sarah hold Isabella, natural and warm, and thought, this is what it should look like. Joy, truth, love, no lies, no fear, just family. Sunday BBQ had become a community event. My mother arrived early to help prep, bringing recipes and wisdom. Your father would have loved this place, she said. You think? He always said the best meals are the ones you share. You're sharing with the whole town now. She handed me a small box. I found something. Your grandfather's dog tags. The originals from World War II. I held them. 3 generations. My grandfather, my father, me. I'm not giving these to Ethan, I said. He's not mine. I know. Maybe one day if you and Sarah, but even if not, the legacy isn't blood, it's honor. I hugged my mother. The smokehouse was packed that afternoon. Veterans, neighbors, regulars, Sarah, Sophie, Marcus, my mother, community, chosen family. Marcus found me at the grill. You know what today is? Sunday, BBQ day. It's been 6 months since the trial. You made it, brother. We made it, Sarah approached. Can I steal you for a second? We walked to a quiet corner. I have something to tell you, she said. Good or bad? Good. I think I got offered a promotion, regional director for VA Family Services. Sarah, that's amazing. It's in Nashville, 2 hours away. My heart sank. I turned it down. What? Why? Because my family is here. You, Sophie, Marcus, this. I'm not leaving. Sarah, you can't give up your career. I'm not giving up anything. I'm choosing, just like you chose, just like Marcus chose. Family isn't about proximity or blood, but I like being close to mine. I kissed her. First real romantic moment, earned and honest and right. That evening, Sophie was drawing at the table. What are you drawing? Our family, the real one. She showed me Ryan, Marcus, Sophie, Sarah, Diane, even some regulars from the restaurant, everyone who showed up. This is everyone who shows up, she explained. Your dad taught you that? No, you did. You said family is who shows up. You show up every day. You're pretty smart, kid. I know. She handed me the drawing. This one's for you, for your apartment. Thank you, Sophie. Uncle Ryan? Yeah? Are you happy now? I looked around. Marcus at the grill, Sarah helping my mother clean up. The community we'd built, the life we'd chosen. Yeah, kiddo, I really am. Golden hour at the smokehouse. I stood at the grill, my father's apron on, Marcus beside me, both of us laughing about something stupid. Sarah and my mother set the table. Sophie and other kids played in the yard. My father used to say, low and slow, you can't rush good things. He was talking about brisket, but he was really talking about life. I spent 6 months in Afghanistan fighting for people I'd never meet. I came home to fight for a family that didn't exist. And I found a family I never expected. Jessica taught me that blood can lie, but Sophie taught me that love doesn't. Marcus taught me that brothers aren't always born. Sarah taught me that you can start over, even when you think you can't. And my father, he taught me that honor isn't about defending a name. It's about defending the truth. 3 generations of Mitchell men wore these dog tags. My grandfather, my father, me. We all fought different wars, but we fought for the same thing. A chance to build something real, something honest, something worth coming home to. Ethan will grow up knowing Trevor is his father. I hope Trevor steps up. I hope that little boy gets the truth from the start, because lies are heavy, heavier than any gear I carried in Afghanistan. But the truth is lighter. It lets you breathe. It lets you heal. It lets you build. So here's what I know now. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shares your Sunday BBQ. It's who shows up when you fall apart. It's who you'd fight for and who'd fight for you. And that's worth more than any birth certificate. If you're still figuring out who your family is, don't give up. They're out there. Sometimes you're born into them. Sometimes you build them. Either way, they're worth the wait. Marcus handed me a plate. Brisket's done. Low and slow, brother. Low and slow. The whole chosen family gathered at the table. Sunday BBQ, sunset, laughter, love. This was it. This was home. My father was right. You can't rush good things, but when you find them, you hold on tight.